You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and somebody mounts one of the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Remake, Sissel's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go. Alright. We settled back into the robin's nest without incident. Unsurprisingly, Morse insisted that Jinny stayed with us until this whole mess blew over for her own safety. As soon as we got settled into the lounge and heated up a bit over leftover breakfast, Jinny began enthusiastically describing everything she experienced while kidnapped. She took immense satisfaction in reporting how those thugs lost all their contacts with the Lorelei family and how desperate they sounded during her little interrogation. And of course, she bragged quite a bit about how she managed to nick a gun off of one of them. The rest of us were happy to give her shit about getting kidnapped in the first place and nearly giving us a heart attack. You know, to keep her ego in check, as all good friends should do. Throughout the whole exchange, Owen was uncharacteristically quiet. My dad was there? Oh, yeah, he was. He was asking about you, too. Like, what you were studying and whether or not you had a girlfriend yet. He was probably fishing for grandkids. I didn't have the heart to tell him. Owen scratched his head with a wistful frown. That's, nice to hear. I'd sure like to meet him someday. Jinny shot him a sympathetic smile. He was a pretty pleasant man, surprisingly. I'm sure he'd like to meet you too if circumstances allowed. I'll take your word for it. Morse cleared his throat loudly from behind the counter where he was fiddling with the gun Jinny brought him. I'd like to focus on the fact that Oleander Lorelei gave those debt collectors an ultimatum. He tapped his chin thoughtfully. Their one salvation is to find Owen and bring him back alive. This would buy them a significant amount of goodwill and possibly regain the family's protection. So I guess the plan is for me to keep hiding here so they don't find me, right? Morse let out a small chuckle. Not quite. I prefer to make sure my enemies never grow comfortable. He paused. My condolences for your motorcycle, by the way. Huh? What do you mean? Realization suddenly dawned across Owen's face as he frantically flipped through his phone to the latest news live stream. Oh. Offensively ugly bike routed. Nature's healing investigators celebrate. Oh god, that is kind of a really ugly bike. Breaking news! Investigators just discovered this hideous motorbike belonging to one of the missing Gerania students, Owen Lorelei. It was found submerged in one of the remote corners of Bradley Lake. The sides of this ugly vehicle are littered with bullet holes, and bullet casings were found in the area near the bike. Authorities are currently conducting ballistics testing to see if they can tie this crime to someone in the criminal database. Morse casually popped out the magazine of the pistol Jinny had stolen with a gleam in his eye. We've planted a few of the bullets from this gun into your bike. Physical evidence tying those thugs to the scene of the crime as your attackers. Tomorrow, you and Philip will reappear to the public, scared, cold, and exhausted, with another convenient bullet planted to Philip's injured leg boot. This confirms their intent to lethally harm you, and removes the option to find Owen Lorelei to clear their names with the family. Second now, water time. That's a damn good plan, actually. They will be fully cornered. Morse's hawk-like eyes narrowed and he smiled behind his oversized scarf. Then it will be checkmate. Never mind that. Why did you wreck my bike? Are you still hung up about that? I patted Owen's shoulder and sighed. I mean, honestly, I think he did you a favor. That thing was an abomination. Who chooses an orange paint job for his bike? It looks like a clown car. It served its purpose after getting us home safely. It's time to put it down. Oh, I like it. It matches Owen's personality. Owen pulled at his hair with an anxious grimace. It's not even my bike. I stole it from my butler and figured I'd return it after this mess was over. He's gonna be so pissed. Maybe you should call home and apologize. Ugh, it's gonna be difficult. I ran away from home forever ago, and my butler and I didn't exactly leave on a good note. Owen sighed, his face a storm of guilt and concern. You probably wouldn't get it. My butler, he will be genuinely happy to hear from you after 12 years, I'm sure. Owen glanced up, startled. Morse did not meet his gaze as he gathered up his papers and contacts from behind the lounge counter. He shot us all a stern look. Anyway, you all better go rest up. It looks like we'll have a busy day tomorrow. He nodded and retreated into his office without another word. Owen stared at the tall man as the door swung shut with a nervous and thoughtful look on his face. A small glimmer of recognition flickered in his eyes as he gazed quietly where the other man stood moments before. No, is he? It's emotion time. Despite the roller coaster of a morning, the rest of the day descended into an rather uneventful night. Herschel and Morse were nowhere to be seen, probably busying themselves with organizing the next stage of the plan. The rest of us were in a desperate battle against boredom. There were only so many times we could rewatch those news clips from this morning and barrage Jinny with our heartfelt feedback. Later, Owen managed to dig up an old Scrabble set from under the couch, and we kept ourselves occupied by chucking the E's into each other's hair. That soon descended into an intense argument over official Scrabble rules and Owen's funky house rules, some of which involved stripping. It keeps the game interesting, Owen insisted, as Philip swung his booted leg at his shins yet again. I personally thought it sounded fun, but Jinny retorted by flipping an F up my nose. Flicking an F up my nose. Throughout our little Scrabble wars, I couldn't help but notice Sissel seemed rather distracted. Hey, sis? I'm pretty sure potatoes is spelled with an E. Sissel blinked out of his thoughts and stared at the board. I think we're all out of E's. You guys kept throwing them at each other. I'm pretty sure you can spell potatoes, too. Sure, if you want to bastardize the English language. It's definitely potatoes with an E. Sissel scratched his head absent-mindedly. Second now. Oh, I guess I gotta pass this round. Do I still have to take my shirt off, or...? Of course! No. Absolutely not. Well, I think... Philip and Jinny immediately glared daggers into my skull. I gulped. That we can save strip Scrabble for another night. I cleared my throat loudly and gently elbowed Sissel. I can sneak you an E if you want. I've been hoarding them under the table. Sissel shook his head with a chuckle. No, don't worry about it. I've been meaning to take a quick break anyway. You guys have fun. I'm gonna go take a quick breather. Oh, do you want me to come with you? Sissel's mouth perked into a tight smile. I'll be fine. Don't you go all mother hen on me now. He planted a quick peck on my cheek before dismissing himself and wandered out of the tiny apartment bedroom. I watched the door close behind him with an unsettling feeling in my gut. Honestly, Sissel should expect me to be a nosy little shit by now. I quietly tiptoed into the hallway just in time to see him knock on Herschel's bedroom door. Hey, boss, you awake? There was a brief pause before the door creaked open by a smidge and Herschel poked his head out. Oh, hey, sis. Did something happen? Nah. Does something need to happen for me to talk to you? Herschel's ears drooped and he stood up a bit straighter. Of course not. My door's open for you any time. I know. I just wish there wasn't a door between us all the time. Sissel paused and shuffled his feet awkwardly. The gang and I are having a nice little Scrabble night in the living room. You want to join us? We could use an adult in all this chaos. Me? Heh, I'm pretty sure you kids wouldn't want a fossil like me to cramp your style. Sissel shot a wry smile. Too cool to hang out with us now? You used to jump at the chance to pop in whenever my friends visited the cafe. You had some real how-do-you-do fellow kids vibes, but it was always a good time. You always ended up shoving me back into the kitchen. Yeah, only because you kept screaming to the world that I secretly had a crush on Adrian. Secretly? Is that what that was? Herschel laughed and ducked back as Sissel aimed a punch to his shoulder. Twat? Herschel blinked. He reached out and playfully ruffled Sissel's head. You have an E stuck in your hair, by the way. Oh, so that's where it went. The older rabbit chuckled quietly, his smile slowly fading back to a restrained grimace. Things are a bit different now. I don't think things can go back to the way they used to be. They don't have to be. You can be a cool uncle instead of the cool boss. You know, still cool if you ever decide to stop sulking in your room all day. There was a long pause. Herschel sighed and sank back behind the gap in his bedroom door. I think you're better off hanging with your friends without me. I think you're being a stubborn twat. I'm inviting you to hang out. Despite the small, bittersweet smile that stretched across Herschel's face, he shook his head firmly. Sissel rubbed his temples tiredly and sighed. Well, if you change your mind, my door's always open, too. Have a good night, boss. Good night, Sissel. The bedroom door slowly creaked shut. Sissel stared at the doorframe for several long moments before quietly retreating back to the living room. As soon as he rounded the corner, he seized a nearby pillow and hurled it in my general direction. Ow! I knew you were hovering around somewhere. Don't you have anything better to do? I just wanted to check and see if you were okay. Well, as you can see, I'm clearly fine. Fantastic, even. Sorry, you just looked kind of upset back there, and I was worried, you know? Sissel's ears drooped, and he stuffed his hands into his pockets with a scowl. I know. I appreciate the concern, Adrian, but I'm gonna go stew in my thoughts for a while. Alone, please. All right. Holler if you need anything. Huh. We both know you'd come running even without any hollering. Good night, Adrian. Sissel planted another light peck on my cheek before quietly disappearing down the hall. As my gaze trailed after him, a small brown tile on the floor caught my eye. I bent down and gingerly plucked it off the ground. You dropped your E. Well, I guess there were times when tailing after your boyfriend like a lost puppy wasn't the solution. I wandered downstairs into the lounge area, itching for some sort of distraction. My brain was never kind to me when left all by its lonesome. Better find something to fixate on before the inevitable intrusive thoughts start popping into my skull. My gaze hovered over the wall of alcoholic drinks, and I playfully wondered how pissed Morse would be if I helped myself to one of them. In the end, I decided I valued my life after all, and grabbed a can of seltzer water instead. I settled down on a booth and was about to take a sip when I heard quiet footsteps from the stairwell. Adrian, you still awake? Oh, Jinny, what's up? She chuckled softly and plopped down onto the booth next to me. Not much. Owen and Philip started talking about their feelings upstairs, and I figured I'd give them some space. I arched an eyebrow with a grin. Oh, you think they're getting together? Who knows at this point? This kind of thing ends up wildly different in every timeline I remember. I blinked and stared at her quietly. Do you remember? All the other times? She paused. Kinda comes and goes in bits and pieces. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm dreaming or if what I remember was actually real. Jinny sank into her seat and stared up at the ceiling. What about you? Do you remember any other times? Besides the one right before this? Not really. But what I do remember... I grimaced. The image of Jinny standing tiredly amidst flames, was burned into my mind like a fresh wound. Sometimes I wish I didn't. I turned my head and flashed Jinny a bittersweet grin. I'm glad you're still with us this time around. Jinny kept her eyes fixed on the ceiling, her mouth stretched into a thin grimace. So, about that, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. I sat up straight, a sense of dread crawling down my spine. You know how I kind of stopped answering my phone a few days ago? Well, She cleared her throat loudly. I kind of almost kicked the bucket a few days ago, got really sick and whatnot. Well, I've been sick for a long time, but it got worse. I shot up and stared at her incredulously. Wait, seriously? Jinny grinned. Yeah, dead serious. Oh, shut up. Come on, man, it's my death. I'm allowed to have a bit of fun with it. Her smile faded a little as she sank back into her seat. But as you can clearly tell, I'm still alive and kicking. Your wish showed up at my windowsill that night. He said he wanted to give me a bit of extra time. Jinny bowed her head, her face in a twisted, apologetic frown. Your wish, he sacrificed himself to extend my life a little more. He's gone. I'm sorry. I suddenly felt very lightheaded. So that was where he went the other day. Something I have to do while I'm still able, he said. Echo's gone? Just like that? Yeah, listen, I'm sorry. I shook my head firmly. Don't be sorry. Glad you're still here with us. And Echo, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole situation. He's disappeared a few times before, but he always ended up coming back to me. I'm just surprised he's gone for good so abruptly. I looked up and gripped Jinny's gloved hand with a firm look. But if he really felt like this was the right thing to do, then I stand by his situation. Alright, I'm going to pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Alright, y'all. It's late. I'm tired. I'm going to go ahead and get to bed. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye. There we go. Find that key. There we go.